Hello, my name is Jennifer Shlomovich, and I am a vegan confidence coach. I specialize in helping vegans eliminate people pleasing so they can confidently be themselves and navigate the challenges of having a lifestyle different from the people around them. Here on my channel, The Confident Vegan, I share content on Tuesdays for Topic Tuesday, where I interview guests and share other personal development topics. On Fridays, I have Food Friday, where I share recipes and other food-related content. Today, my special guest is Juan Bautista Pique, who has been vegan for 6 years and vegetarian for 15. He's a Colombian Business Administrator with a master's in marketing. Juan is also a stress management teacher with a certification in plant-based nutrition. After working in different sectors for 15 years, Juan became an entrepreneur. In 2020, he decided to follow his passion and promote veganism in Latin America by working with companies and individuals. He created the company Un Mundo Vegano, which means One Vegan World in Spanish, that focuses on eliminating the suffering of animals by spreading veganism and making it easy for people to experience the vegan way of life. Welcome, Juan.
Thank you, Jen. Thank you for having me here. It's a
It's so
pleasure.
nice to have you here. Thanks for connecting with me. I'm excited to have this conversation with you. So the first question I ask my guests is, what is your vegan story?
Okay, Jen. So my vegan story, I have to say, I used to be a heavy meat eater for more than 30 years. I think I was like almost like anti-vegan. If somebody talked to me about veganism, I would say, I will never do that. I love to eat meat. Why should I not eat meat? I just love it. So I think that makes me understand people that are maybe not willing to make the change. So for myself, it started when I took a course that talked a lot about energy and how to manage emotions through breathing techniques. It's from the Art of Living organization. And I took the course, and during the course, they told me, you know what? It's a 6-day course. Why don't you try a vegetarian diet and see what happens to your energy level, how do you feel? And I say, you know what? For 6 days, I think I will not die, so I will do it. And what happened is after 6 days, I felt so much different. I felt so much energy, not only from the breathing techniques that I've learned, but also from the eating. It really changed my life. So I decided, that was on 2009, and I decided I'm gonna continue with this diet. I didn't know how. I didn't knew any vegan or vegetarian. And my family, heavy meat eater as well from Colombia. My friends. I mean, I didn't know anybody, but I said I felt so good that I want to continue. And that's what I did. A vegetarian initially, and from time to time, I cut on milk and cheese and dairies, but I always came back. Cheese was always the thing for me. I say I love cheese. I mean, I'm a vegetarian. I think I feeling good physically. I'm kind of helping the animals. I felt that, but I just love cheese. I will never give up cheese. And so it was on. Actually, I moved to Peru when I got married, and I was living here. That was 7 years ago. I was reading about what happens, what's behind the milk, what happens to the cows and the calves, and they get pregnant, and then the baby borns, the calf, and they take that baby off the mother, and there was so much suffering behind the cheese that I loved and the milk that I loved, that I said, you know what? That's it. I'm a vegan, but I just read that article and I decided I want to go vegan today. And that's what I did. That was 6 years ago. And it's been a great decision. And I knew actually at that moment that I didn't need cheese as a part of my nutrition. Actually, it was not good for me. I love it, but it's not good for you. And I had vegan options, like vegan cheese options. I knew it. So I said, that's it. And that's the day I became vegan entirely for the animals. And of course, it helped with my health, but it was for the animals. That's it.
Thanks for sharing that. I can relate to elements of your story. The
Mm.
first thing I gave up was the dairy, actually.
Oh, wow. You started,
But I,
that's a
but
great decision.
yeah, well, I love cheese also, and that's usually a big thing. A lot of people say, you know what, I could give up meat, but I can't give up cheese, right? Everyone loves the
Totally.
cheese. And what happened was I was having symptoms of just sinus issues and skin issues. And I was reading how dairy can contribute to that. So I went on a little experiment where I was like, all right, let me take a break for 30 days and see what
Mhm.
happens. And I felt better in ways I didn't realize dairy was making me feel bad in ways that it was making me feel bad, because that was just my normal way of feeling. And then I was looking up all these dairy-free recipes, and I kept coming across vegan recipes, and I'm seeing all this exciting food, a lot of it healthy. Like, yes, there's a lot of unhealthy vegan food out there, but I was finding a lot of plant-based recipes, forks over knives. I'm a big fan of forks over knives, and all this like amazing food. And I started just trying recipes, and I was not feeling deprived. Like, vegan food is actually not boring. It's very, I
Totally.
became a better cook. And I wanted to, and then it went to the animals. Like, it was started for health, for different elements of health. And then as you start watching the documentaries, like, we know where meat comes from, but there's this dissociation, I think, especially if you're just going to the grocery store and it's already in the package. You don't
Mm.
have to see the whole process of how it ended up in that package. So it's easy to dissociate from it, even though we know what it is. But then when you really watch a documentary and you really, really think about it, and the suffering part, um, as I started becoming more of a spiritual person and becoming more aware of energy, and you're consuming this energy of suffering on top
Mm.
of just eating food that you know wasn't really so good for me. And then finally, after a couple of years, finally fully transitioning into I was vegetarian first,
Okay.
and then still having fish, and then I went completely, like, I just, and when you reach that point, you're just ready. Like, you don't want to go back. A lot of non-vegan friends and family are like, don't you miss it? Don't you want to go back? No, I
No, no.
don't.
Totally. So, about cheese, I would like to add something to people that are watching, that I'm actually reading this book for the second time. It's called The Cheese Trap. I don't know if you know it, by Dr. Neil Bernard. Really recommended book. It's also on audio. And actually, he says a lot of data, but he says, people, when they want to improve their health, usually they think about cutting sugar and processed foods. And he said, that's good, but if you really want to improve your health, cut out the cheese. Really, it's an addictive food. So that we understand that people think it's delicious, because it is. I love cheese, but I'm a vegan right now. And it's so harmful for you. I mean, people are not aware, just as the story you're sharing. So I really recommend people, of course, go whole food, plant-based at least. That would be great. But if you start to cut out cheese, I mean, you're doing like a big thing, and not only for you, of course, for the what happens behind the cheese. So it's a good option. The Cheese Crap, recommended book.
I wrote that down. I'm gonna look
Mm.
into that, because yeah, dairy can contribute to a lot of inflammation in the body. So can
Mm.
meat.
Allah.
And it's which is, can trigger other types of diseases down the line. And so and vegan cheeses, even though that's not necessarily healthy either, but if you want like a pizza with vegan cheese,
Yeah, you can. Yeah,
they've improved there's much
totally.
better vegan cheeses out there. But there's also the whole food plant-based vegan cheese
The
sauces out
ideal
there.
world.
They're
Totally. Yeah, yeah,
Yeah,
totally.
so you can make healthier versions. And the other thing I want to add before we switch gears from dairy is that your taste buds change. So
Mhm.
I think maybe like a couple of weeks, um, I missed having like regular cheese, but then after a couple of weeks, I got used to not having it and having the substitutes instead. So it's important to give your taste buds a chance to
Yeah.
change gear. And I think, you taste vegetables a whole different way when you switch to the whole food plant based. way of eating, you really taste things for in a much more flavorful way.
Totally. I just want to add that I would invite people to give it a try, not only to cheese, if that's the thing, but actually to the whole plant-based diet, the whole vegan diet, because people are sometimes scared of, oh yeah, I don't want to be vegan forever and ever. I say to them, you know what? Why don't you try it? Give it a try. Give it a try. 1 month. That's what actually that veganuary, I work with them. I think I told you, that's the idea, give it a try for 1 month, see what happens, and
Yeah.
most people say, you know what, I feel different. That's what happened to me. Actually, I was a vegetarian, but that happened to me. Oh, I feel different for 1 week. I really feel different. So I decided to keep on going. So I would invite people to give it a try. Don't
Yeah.
think about forever and ever. Give it a try. 1 month. See what
1
happens.
month. And if a month feels too bad, another thing I tell people is a week, right? Like,
Yeah, good. Or
right?
some
If,
days at least.
even
Yeah,
right,
yeah,
yeah.
totally.
If a month feels too much, then just try 1 week of it. And again,
Mm.
if you don't like it, it's not for you, then you don't have to commit to it. But you should always at least
Yeah,
try something once, right? Because you don't know
yeah,
how it's
totally.
going to be. So, can you share a little bit more about the work that you do and what inspired you to do it?
Yeah, sure. So, well, I've been doing different kind of work regarding veganism. I want to help people, and I want to help companies. So with people, what I do is like I've been doing like one to one, or sometimes to couples or groups. It's been less, but mostly one to one and couples, to decide to actually change their lives, not only through what they eat. I invite them to try a plant-based or vegan diet. If that's too much for them, I invite them to at least be flexitarian, like, okay, from the week, why don't you try like 3 or 5 days, give it a try. So I go with them in that process, with, of course, with the science-based information, with recipes, like the whole thing. But I also support people with managing emotions. That's something that I do as well. I learned that course that I took in 2009. I after a while, I became a teacher of that course because it was so powerful for me. Like, only using your breath, what could do to your mind, really manage your stress, your anxiety. I decided to become a teacher, so I'm a teacher of that techniques from the Art of Living. You should look it up, artofliving.org. It's all over the world. And so I teach also people that to use their breath, to also meditate. If you don't meditate, you should really start meditating. It has so many benefits. And also, and the third thing that I teach to people and help them with is the mind. Understand more about the mind, how the mind works, and how really everything. You create your world depending on what you think. So that's what I do with people: food, managing emotions, and teaching about the mind. And with companies, what I've done, I work with Veganary, this UK-based campaign. It's all over the world right now. But I was the corporate engagement manager for Latin America, inviting companies to unite to do this campaign and to do a launch. Not necessarily vegan or plant-based companies, but companies that had a vegan or wanted to develop a vegan or a vegan option. And so actually, it was for the company. It's like a free marketing campaign. It helps them with their sales when they unite to veganuary. So I was that. That was excellent opportunity. And right now, I'm looking also to work with other companies that want to sell more of their vegan offers. That's something I'm doing constantly. But yeah, that's mainly it. So what was the motivation for me? Again, it's like the name of that company is One Vegan World. I'm a believer that this is the future. This is the way to go. It's not only because of food, not only because of the way of living, but it's a peaceful way of living. Vegan way of living is really to live in peace, not only with yourself, take more care of your body, this instrument that we have, but also with others, and of course, not only humans but also animals. They're sentient beings, and if people don't see it, I always tell them, just look at the eyes of a cow, at the eyes of a chicken as well. You see there's life behind those eyes. So people maybe don't want to see it. I know it's hard. Actually, I'm with my sister. I have this talk. She's not a vegan, and But she told me actually 3 days ago that she watched a documentary. She was so horrified by the picture that she was seeing that she decided to turn it off. And I told you, I get you. And I know it's hard to see that you're creating harm by the way you're living, but there's a solution. It's very simple. It's very simple. So anyway, that's it. Now, motivation, it's to live in a more peaceful way.
I love that. You're helping people find peace in different ways, not
Mm,
what they put, because what we put on our plate and we put in our bodies, that impacts our overall all well-being,
totally.
our mind, that also our beliefs. I do a lot of work with my clients around beliefs and
Mm,
values and boundary setting and speaking your truth and doing the things that feel good to you, because when we try to people please and not do the things that feel right to us, then
mm.
that can create a lot of unhappiness. And so yeah, that mind work with our mind is so important, and breath work and meditation is very powerful stuff. I
It
try
is.
to I would love to do a daily practice of meditation. It doesn't happen. But I would probably I probably meditate on average like 3 to 4 times a week, which
Okay,
does make a difference than the
for
times
sure.
I don't. But when I can do it consistently, because sometimes I have been, for like 10 minutes, a great thing that's helped me, and I recommend this for anyone who is thinking about starting a meditation practice. If you can just start your morning for either 5 minutes or 10 minutes, maybe if you're not used to it, maybe start with five. And
Mm,
then, yes, our minds wander.
that's
But
how it
that's where
is.
you get in touch with that part of you that's observing. A great analogy I heard a long time ago on a podcast. They talked about why meditation was so powerful, because it's like a snow globe. You know, a snow globe where there's like you shake it
Hmm.
up, and well, when you set that snow globe down and it's still, all the snow, that's like our thoughts, right? Our brains,
Hmm.
it's like a whole bunch of thoughts just fluttering around. And when we sit in that stillness, it's like a snow globe that when you set it down, and then you
Hmm.
can see that clear picture of whatever that scene is inside.
Totally.
And it's like the same thing with our minds. Like we're not really, sometimes we're not aware of what's floating around there until we sit down and
And you miss it. That's the thing. You can miss things in your life because you're with that blah blah blah, all that noise around you, and you're
yeah.
missing life. That's it. You're missing the present moment. I really recommend this course, and if you want to take it as well, from the Art of Living, because it's really simple. You learn a technique that takes you daily 20-30 minutes,
Hmm.
and it's breathing along with some meditation. So it's really powerful, and it really changed your life. And it's really, I see meditation like taking a bath, like
Yeah.
you probably take a bath for your body and you clean your body every day, but you do not clean your mind every day. And that's what meditation is like. Do a daily cleanup of your mind. That's it, like that calmness. And from there, you start your day. And that's so, I mean, such a different way to deal with everything in your life. I mean, you deal very different and very, very positive, and you really start to live more life. I will have to say that. So
Yeah.
another recommended option.
Yeah, I second that. And you become more intentional. And another conversation that I've had with other vegans is that when you become vegan, you become more intentional, not only
Mm,
about your food choices, but you start to become more intentional in general about other
mm,
things, like how you impact everything around you. And when we don't stop and think about what we're doing, we kind of just go on this automatic pilot. We all do it
mm,
at some point. um but I find that being vegan has made me think about things a little bit more, like
mm.
how just my actions can have an impact on
Right.
the world and people around me. So I feel like the all those different practices that you're helping people with are so very important, because the more we work on ourselves, the better the world's going to be, because it's got to start with us, right?
Totally.
We can't control what other people do, but we can control what we do, and how we interact with others. That's going to have an impact on those people. And so the more
Totally.
intentional, we are with responding instead of reacting. It's much better to respond. And I feel like meditation helps us get into that
Totally.
grounded state where we can respond to things instead of
Mhm.
react. That's where peace, I think, can happen.
Totally start. Be the change you want to see in the world, as Gandhi said. To really start with you, and everything starts within. It doesn't. I mean, your life starts within. People sometimes don't realize that, but what happens to you, you're attracting. I mean, it's your energy, how you're feeling, your emotions.
Mhm.
You're attracting everything in your life. If you don't like your reality right now, well, start to change within.
Yeah.
Sometimes we want to change like things that are outside of us and change people. We waste so much energy trying to change other people's minds, and we cannot handle our own mind. So, start to change yourself, and meditation helps, and of course, a more I would say a more diet that has more energy and it's more uplifting to you. And of
Mhm.
course, there is less harm in that food that you're eating, because you eat also as you were saying initially, the stress from the animal, you're eating it as well. So really food that has a lot of energy. And in Sanskrit, there is a word, Sanskrit is a ancient language. There's a word called prana. And prana is, I don't know if you know it, but it's the vital energy. So it's what
Mhm.
everybody and everything has. And if you eat something that has a lot of prana, then you will take on that prana. But if you eat something that has lower prana, such as a dead body from a cow, from a chicken, it's a dead body. Imagine the energy on a dead body, very low energy, and you take on that energy. I have to say on that, when people said that to me, that I'm telling you right now, I was a heavy meat eater, and I say, what are you telling me? I mean, I eat meat all day and I feel really good. I don't get what you're telling me. I had to experience that for myself to realize it. So if you're hearing this and you're saying this sounds kind of weird about energy and food, well, give it a try again, and you
Yeah.
will see what happens. It happened to me. After 6 days, I said, you know what? I really feel more energy. So that's the reason. Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. I agree with that. Just, giving it a try and seeing, how that would be. There was another question I was going to ask you, and now I can't remember what it was going to be. So if it comes back to me, I'll come back and ask.
No
So,
worries.
what are some tips that you have for anyone who's interested in becoming vegan, or maybe someone who's newly vegan and maybe they're feeling a little challenged by it?
Okay.
Um, we talked a little bit about some tips about just giving things a try, but what are some other tips that you would have for anyone?
Yeah, the first thing for me is determine your why. Why do
Mm,
you want to do this? I mean, what's your why? Because as they said, as they say, where there is a why, there's a how. So for me, it was. I mean, I really felt more energy. That's my initial why. I didn't knew how. I didn't knew how. I didn't knew what to eat. I thought everything was salad, lettuce and tomato, but I say, I'm gonna do it. So when you have a clear why, you make the decision, then you will find the how. Don't worry. Of course, there are now a lot of options and tools, but first I will determine the why. Then I would say people should determine if they want to go, like we were talking before, if they want to do it maybe for a while, or for a few days. But determine, if you want to do it for a few days, it's also benefit. I mean, it's also positive, but determine maybe which days you want to do it, because it's more easy for your mind. The easier you make for your mind, you take that decision before. Say, you know what? From Monday to Friday, I'm gonna be a vegan. Okay, from Monday to Friday, I'm gonna be a vegan, so that's easy. Now you have to look for food and things to eat and place to go from Monday to Friday. Or the whole week could be also, but anyway, determine how many days you want to do it. And I will also recommend, look for information. You can contact me. I'll be more than happy. I'm sure you also have a lot of tools. My website, Un Mundo Vegano, is in Spanish, but anyway, I also speak English if somebody wants help with that. But there are many tools, things to eat. I will recommend, there's a tool I always recommend, the Daily Dosing from Dr. Michael Greger, where it tells you the 12 things you really should eat based on science if you want to eat plant-based for one day. And it's really simple. There's an app you can download. It's free, Daily Dosing. and that's a good way to, people are scared. I get that, will have protein deficiency, as that's so many people talk about that. That's not that, I mean, that could be a thing, but it's very rare. But anyway, so that you are that that you're eating healthy and you're eating all the things that you should eat. The daily dosing is a great tool that will help you. Actually, you can tick, the things that you're eating. So it's really helpful, the daily dosing. And I will say another tip could be join groups. That could be a thing. If you live in a city, almost now in every major city, there is, at least in Facebook, a vegan group. You can join them, start talking with people, or have an accountability partner. That really helps when you're starting something new and you want to keep on going. Say, I want to try this for a month. Tell somebody that you respect that you're gonna do this. That's accountability. So you will be like, like reporting somehow to that person, I'm doing it, and this is why I want to do it. I will do it for 1 month. And that helps you in those moments when you say, maybe you want to quit, and but you have an accountability partner, you will be reporting to that person, that motivates you a little bit more. So those will be like tips for me, and of course, happy to help if somebody needs that.
Those are great tips. And I now remember the other thing I was going to bring up before as you were talking is the challenge that people have, I think, is there's that fear of they're going to lose the things that are important to them. That fear of change. Like you're used to eating a certain way, and there's this fear of, well, now what am I going to do? All that's going to be taken away from me. I'm going to be deprived. How am I going to have how's this going to impact my social life, right? Which is a big part of the work that I do. And what you said before about groups, it's so important to have accountability and have those groups in place, because in the beginning it's hard. Like I would say the first 3 months, maybe, when I fully committed to being vegan, I felt more challenged by it than I do now. Like I went on vacation. I remember my first vacation, going with my husband, and my husband's not vegan, but he's very supportive of my choices. And so I researched in advance of the Happy Cow app. Have you seen the Happy Cow?
Yeah, sure, sure.
Yeah, that's another great free app. And
Yeah.
you can research in advance um, what restaurants have. They'll show all vegan restaurants, and then they'll show restaurants that have vegan options. And so the the best thing I can say is you have to do a little research, but it's not bad, because then you're prepared. And so, and when if I'm meeting friends for food, what I do is I'll come up with people, because I'm vegan. A lot of times people say just pick a place. So what I like to do is to help people feel like they have some choice. Is I'll try to find like three different places. One vegan, and maybe a couple of others that have like vegan options but aren't necessarily fully vegan. And this way it helps the non-vegan person I'm meeting up with feel like they have some kind of a choice. But the
Totally.
ones so far who have gone to vegan restaurants with me who aren't vegan always been very surprised at the food that they got. Like they were very happy with it. They wouldn't even think it was vegan, because it, like you were talking about before, a lot of people instantly think, oh, it's lettuce and tomatoes.
Yeah.
That's just a part of it. That's not the whole part of it. And so yeah, it's important to have that support and accountability. And and you also brought up another important thing, is also make it as easy for yourself as possible. So if Monday through Friday works for you, because on the weekend it's the weekend, you might have plans with your family and you're not quite ready yet, but at least the Monday through Friday you're doing it. What Or even change one meal at a time,
Yeah.
right? And
Everything counts.
everything counts. Whatever you change, you eventually can build on that. And then
Mm.
that's and then when you feel challenged, and tapping into that why is it important? Because when you, on those days that you do feel challenged, that's when you do tap into it. it started out for me with health, but then the big why was the animals and the
Mm.
cruelty, and I just didn't want to be a part of that, consuming that anymore. And so just wanting to honor animals in that way. And so that just sealed the deal for me when, I just thought about that, and I was like, no, I can't do that.
Totally.
By being prepared in advance, it helps. And if you're doing social settings, I usually bring stuff. Like, I'll tell the host, you know what, I'll bring something. Sometimes I've had family and friends make stuff for me, but I like to make it as easy as possible for people. And by the stuff that I bring, it gives me an opportunity. It's like an
Yeah,
opportunity to show people this is what vegan is, right? It can feel uncomfortable when you're different from the people around you, but I see it now as an opportunity to show people what else is out there.
totally. Totally. I think that's a good thing, to see it as an opportunity. And I would say again that everything starts with the decision. Your why, you make a decision. If you really understand the impact of what you're doing by becoming a vegan, or at least eating vegan some days or some meals, if you really get it, there is a lot of data. Don't worry about nutrition. There's a good webpage, nutritionfacts.org, has a lot of information based on data, on medical studies. What happens? For example, you want to know, okay, how to deal with cancer, how to deal with diabetes, how to deal with obesity, how to deal with migraines, how to deal with, you can think of any disease, any affection to your body that you can think of. Look it up on that page, nutritionfacts.org, and it shows what data and what medical studies have to say about it. And it all boils down to, plant-based diet is a great way to eat to really improve your health. So don't worry about health. It really improves your health. The risk is that you improve it. Of course, do it with conscious, and for that is the daily dosing. The daily dosing is actually made by nutritionfacts.org. It's the same. That's all from Dr. Michael Greger. I will say that don't worry about nutrition. It's all. You'll be in good health, and yeah, it starts with a decision. Make the decision, and really, you find the way. You find how to deal with your friends. I think those are great tips that you're sharing. But if you make the decision, you find how.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you for suggesting these resources. I'll definitely look into them, because it's always great to have different tools to help support people
Brilliant.
wherever they're at. And the other thing that I will add to the health aspect of it is, if you feel like, if you're concerned about if you're not getting enough nutrients, you always go to your doctor. You can get blood work and make any adjustments, or if you need some kind of supplements. But if you but like you mentioned before, like the plant-based diet is one of the healthiest things that you can eat, and there's so much scientific
Oh
information
yeah.
on that. I had a nutritionist on, that was a couple of weeks ago from the time that we did this interview, but it'll be more than a couple of weeks by the time, probably about a month after this interview airs. But a couple of weeks ago from this time, I posted an interview of a vegan nutritionist who said the same thing, how the best thing, yes, sometimes you might have to have other treatments and medicine depending on what your
Mhm.
health situation is, but no matter what it is, you have the best thing you can do is eat healthy for your
Yeah,
body, whatever it's
totally.
going through. It can't hurt to eat.
Yeah, so it can hurt,
It can't
the
hurt.
risk is that you will get better. That's it. Yeah.
Right, exactly. So if whatever treatments and things you need to go to, yes, it's important to work with your doctor, but by switching to by being mindful of what you eat and eating better for you, that's just gonna that can only add something good to the situation.
Totally.
Yeah.
Totally. Yeah, totally. People should really try. There is a Dr. Cowell Esselstyn. He has a video that says, heart strokes will be a thing of history, and he talks about diet and how impactful, and he has many cases to show For example, for every thing that has to do with how your blood moves, with circulation through your body, will improve with a plant-based diet. Everything, I mean, because it really helps. Plants help a lot with circulation. So heart, everything has to do with the heart and your entire body, with the brain. So anyway, I mean, there's so many data. I would really recommend, again, nutritionfacts.org. There's everything you need to know there about how this kind of way of eating will improve your health.
That's great. Thank you for sharing all these tips. And are there any other, before we wrap up, was there anything else that you would like to share with those watching?
Yeah, well, I would say again about not only think of you, but really connect with others. And when I talk others, I talk about animals. You know, I know this is maybe not the best or the thing that people want to hear the most. Say again that because something they're doing is causing harm, but it's really a really peaceful way of living. And well, something that we have not talked about, but if you're listening to this, the planet, if you really care about the planet, again, this is a great way to help the planet. Everything, I mean, most people, not everybody, but most people talk about climate change and really how they could help. I think people sometimes feel overwhelmed by the climate change and they don't know what to do. You know, if you're not living it, you're seeing the news, something's happening, you don't know what to do. Well, a vegan diet, it's a great way to help. You know, greenhouse gas emission is proven. The United Nations have told us many years ago that we should really diminish the way we're eating meat because it produces so many greenhouse gases. And there are so many things happening with deforestation in the Amazon, for example, with the cattle farming. I mean, the use of water, the use of land, so many issues about the planet that if you really care about the planet, you should be a vegan. If you care about the planet, you're not a vegan, it's not congruent. I mean, it's inconsistent. So again, that's another positive why: health, the animals, and the planet.
That's a very good point. I'm glad you brought that up because yes, and then factory farming too, the conditions that the pollution and that can eventually get into polluting waterways and the health conditions of workers as well. Like I've read some articles on all of that. You know, a lot sometimes people have this thought of, well, it's just me. I can't, change the, but that's how it starts, right? Like if you know, if 10 people do it, it's still, eventually it can spread as that more of that knowledge and awareness. It's better to have
Totally.
some change and impact than no change. Right? Because nothing can change unless we take that action. And so by us focusing on the things that we have control over, we're at least not contributing to the problem. Like it can't hurt, right?
It can hurt. Yeah,
It
it's all
can hurt
positive.
if you're thinking about the environment. And listen, no one's perfect, and again, you don't want to overwhelm yourself trying to change everything all at once. But if there's one little thing you can do to make a step in the right direction for your health and well-being with your habits, whether it's what you eat, meditation, breath exercises, regular exercise, but then also taking those steps towards, something you can do to support the environment, whatever that might be. It's all better than not doing anything.
Yeah, totally. The powerful thing I would say is with one thing, you impact so many things, right? By changing one thing, that's the way you eat,
Mm-hmm.
that what you have at Tibia for, you change so many things for you, for the planet, for the beings. I mean, with one simple choice, it's so powerful. That's why vegan diet has a bigger impact. And again, you can still eat delicious. That's something I always say to people. You know, people say, okay, it's great, but I love what I eat. And I tell them, you know what? You can still eat delicious. Just give it a try. Give it a try. Give it a try. I mean, sometimes people eat the vegan burger and say, it was not so tasty. And I tell them, you know what? Maybe try another option because it's like with animal food. I mean, sometimes when I used to eat meat, I could eat a burger. It was not the best. And I could say, okay, this is not the best burger. But that happens with vegan
Yeah.
dinner or food as well. You know, maybe you try it once, it's not the best. Give it another try because there are so much options nowadays, and you really, I mean, you can still delicious. That's the message.
Yeah, well, you know what? For me, it was about experimenting and having fun in the beginning. I was
Mm,
curious. So when you approach something from a level of curiosity, I bought different cookbooks and I tried different
mm,
things and then I tried different products. So if you approach something with being curious and just try an experiment, treat it like an experiment because you're
yeah.
not going to know how it's going to be for you unless you try it. But yeah, there's so many different products like right now it's probably much easier to be vegan than it was 10, 15, 20
Totally.
years ago.
15 years ago, totally. You know, there's another tool that I want to mention, actually, too. Veganary. I mentioned before, but veganary.org. You can go there, subscribe, and for 1 month, you will receive information and recipes and the whole thing, everything that you will need for 1 month to be a vegan. That's a good option. And yeah, there are so many. I mean, YouTube, you will find so many recipes of people cooking vegan options. I will say start to look for your favorite dish, but in a vegan version. I think that will be a good option. So yeah, look for choices. Look for Veganary, and there's another organization, ProVeg International as well. They have also a challenge. It's a 30-day challenge, but actually they tell you that you could be flexitarian. You could be vegan, but you can also do it some days. That's another option. Anyway, give it a try. I would say start. That's the message will be really start.
Yeah, and focus on the other thing I'll add is focus on progress instead of perfection, right? And
That's
whatever
good.
whatever you're able to do, that's still progress. It takes
Mm.
time. It took me a couple years to fully do it, and I just tried to have fun with it and explore different cuisines and recipes and listen, if you want to make if you want to have vegan junk food or make a recipe that's not necessarily healthy but comfort food, there's so many great recipes out there. You can
Oh
make
yeah.
you can be as healthy or as unhealthy as you want.
I eat junk food from time to time for vegan, but I mean I love pizzas, I love burgers. I just
Yeah,
don't eat it every day, once a week, once every 2 weeks. That's it.
but that's like in
I
moderation, right? Everything
Yeah,
in
but every
moderation.
once in a while I eat junk food. I love French fry. I just love them. So, but it's not my everyday meal. That's it. I would recommend to people, the 80-20 rule. 80%, if you're being vegan, 80% do it ideally whole food, plant based. That's great. I mean, lentils, rice, soy, quinoa, all the options that you have, fruits, vegetables, whatever. But and the 20% could be those burgers and pizza. Just don't make it your everyday meal.
Yeah, that's mostly what I try to do is focus
Mm,
more on like that whole food like 80% of the time and then
it's
like
good.
like drop my notebook here. Uh, the weekends is when I do my like I'll have my like vegan treats. Like
Yeah.
there's a coffee shop near me that has a lot of vegan baked goods there and so,
Mm,
I'll go
delicious.
there and then I'll enjoy myself on the weekend.
And enjoy. Yeah.
Yeah, it's everything in moderation. Well, Juan, it was so great having you on here. What's the best way for people to connect with you?
So I would say in Instagram, I'm really active. Juan Bautista Pique. Maybe in English, it's not that easy. Juan Bautista Pique. Maybe you can write it down if possible on, on the on the
I'll also
links.
include all the link. Yeah, so everything
Okay, okay.
I'll put the links down below. So if you want to connect with Juan after, just check the notes below the video, and I'll put
That's
it
good.
there.
Instagram and YouTube. I'm restarting my YouTube channel. It's the same, Juan Bautista Pique, and it's also eat vegan some days. I want to help people make the transition, start eating some days vegan. So those are two ways. Facebook as well. It's the same. It's my name. I mean, I'm LinkedIn. I'm in all the social media. I'm Juan Bautista Pique. I'll be more than happy to connect, help people, share information. Yeah, happy to help.
Great. Awesome. Well, Juan, thanks again for connecting with me and sharing your journey and wisdom on my channel. And thank you all for tuning in, and I'll see you soon. Bye for now.
Bye bye.